Hello, friend. Welcome back to Mental Bloom Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Clarkson, and today I want to talk to you about introvertism. Yes, introvertism. It is something that has been very prominent in my life and very misunderstood for a lot of years. And even today, I went and did some Google Academy research on introvertism and the information out there. And I feel like most of the information out there is incorrect, and it's very superficial and shallow to the point of being wrong. Okay? Like if you look up, for instance, the dictionary definition that pops up on Google about what is an introvert, they will tell you it is just a shy, quiet person. And that's not necessarily true, being that introvertism and extrovertism were words that were founded over 100 years ago in the time of Carl Jung and his psychological research. So I would really love to dive into some of this research and share with you what I have found. I found a lot of information, surprisingly, on WebMD regarding introvertism. Okay, so first of all, I was labeled an introvert in high school when I took the Myers-Briggs test, and it told me that I am an INTJ. I am an introvert who is intuitive and thinking and judging. That more or less has remained the same, which the thinking is instead of feeling, which I was very cut off from my feeling at that time and for years after. And if you've been following along recently, I am really getting in touch with my feelings. So I'd be interested to take that test again in a few months and see where I land with that, because I've always been very far on the thinking side. And I think now it might be, now that I'm in my season of underthinking is what I'm calling it. I've been overthinking for 30 plus years, and now I am really leaning into the idea of underthinking, leaning more into that intuitive nature of things. But when I was first labeled an introvert, when I first discovered being an introvert, what I really thought that meant, and I really took it to heart, I thought it was that I didn't like being around people and that I was better off alone because I was very reflective. I am the queen of journaling, and you need a journal prompt, I'll give you one. We could totally work through things on an inner self sort of way. I've been very well practiced at that since before I needed to be. It's one of those things that you don't want it to be so one-sided that it's never balanced. And I was so one-sided into being an introvert. And I used it as an excuse to not be around people and to isolate and to not build really strong friendships with a lot of people. Really went deep instead of wide. And it was like I clung to like 2 to 3 friends. And, was like, why talk to anyone else? That's probably why people referred to me as being unapproachable at the time. Back then, you never would have thought I'd be sitting here doing a podcast, trying to grow a community and asking people, come in here, join my community, come listen to me, let's talk together, let's hop on a Zoom call. Like, blows my mind that, that very past version of me never would have been down for this. And I am so glad that change was inevitable and happened. And I'm so glad to be able to be here doing this, being here. I love it. I really do. I really, really enjoy our time together, even if it's one-sided with some of y'all. Anyways, I was labeled an introvert, and I thought it meant I should isolate and just be alone because I'm better off on my own. That was so wrong. And that's kind of still the information that's being put out there. Let me see if you can kind of pick that up through some of this. So Merriam-Webster dictionary actually says that an introvert is a person whose personality is characterized by introversion, a typically reserved or quiet person who tends to be introspective and enjoys spending time alone. Note, introverts are typically more comfortable interacting with small groups of people rather than large groups. as at parties. I mean, I can vouch for some of that. Some of that is definitely very true for me. But here's the thing, is that being an introvert or an extrovert, what I have learned more recently, because I hear people who are like, I'm an introvert, but sometimes I can be an extrovert because I like to talk to people a lot, or I like to have really great connections, or like I have a lot of fun at a party still, but it makes me really tired. That's the introvert part. Being around people for a long period of time makes you tired. Being an extrovert means being in a room with other people gives you energy. And there's some things I've learned about this actually just today that are very exciting. There's a connection between introvert and extrovert and how your body responds to caffeine and dopamine. It is wild, and I am starting to get like a new interest in some of this because I'm wondering if it's connected at all. There's no evidence out there that it's connected to ADHD. And I'm wondering, in the few kind of studies that they have regarding ADHD and autism versus introvert and extroversion, I'm wondering if those were people who were self-identifying as introvert and extrovert, or people who genuinely like were confirmed to be introvert or extrovert. Because there is something different that happens in your brain and like in your body, in your natural responses that makes you an introvert or an extrovert. It's wild. Okay, so if you've previously been an introvert and you think that isolation is what's best for you, let me tell you, you are so wrong. You are so wrong. What it means for you, because we need friends, especially as moms, like you need that support group. You need people, and I understand that being around people a lot does make you exhausted. Being on social media has the same effect on you, doesn't it? Yeah, it does me for sure. So, what do we do from here? Let me read a little bit of what I found because it's so exciting, and I can't keep my thoughts straight until I read this to you. Okay. So this is from WebMD, and I was so surprised to find all this information there. So it says, a psychologist named Carl Jung began using the terms introvert and extrovert. Sometimes it's spelled differently. I guess you didn't need to know that. In the 1920s. These two personality types sort people into how they get and spend their energy. Introverts, Jung said, turn to their own minds to recharge, while extroverts seek out other people for their energy needs. So regarding introvert and extrovert, it might also be very linked to how you process things. When something's really heavy in your life, do you process it better in solitude, journaling, talking to yourself in the shower, going for a walk and talking to yourself? Or do you process it better bouncing ideas off someone else? Do you process it better talking it out with another person? Back to the notes here, okay? So, though it looks different in everyone, that is so important. Introverts have many of the same patterns of behavior. In general, introverts need quiet to concentrate. That one right there is not me. I don't need quiet to concentrate. I thrive in chaos sometimes, and that is how, like, if you ask me how I'm able to do this business with kids in the house and homeschooling and all this, it's like because I can write a blog post with Paw Patrol on the TV and then two other kids having a lightsaber fight behind the couch. I can do that. So that's not an introvert quality that I have. All right. So, but in general, it shows up different for everybody. That's my point. But in general, introverts need quiet to concentrate, are reflective, are self-aware, take time making decisions, feel comfortable being alone, don't like group work. My reason for not liking group work is that nobody ever pulls their weight. Like, it's never a fair weight. They also prefer to write rather than talk. They feel tired after being in a crowd. That's like a number one. Like, I feel like you can't be an introvert if you're not tired after being in a crowd. That feels like it's like the prime definition to me. They have few friendships, but are very close to those friends. Daydream or use their imaginations to work out a problem, and retreat into their own mind to rest. I feel like something has to be said there about retreating into your own mind to rest if you are an introvert mama, and I feel like I attract a lot of other introverts. So I hope a lot of you are really picking up what I'm putting down. But that you retreat into your own mind to rest. How often do we sit with the intention of resting, and then we open up social media and start scrolling? And we start filling our mind with all of these other images and things and videos and ideas, but we're not actually retreating into our own mind. We're actually shutting off our mind and zoning out into that. Yeah, and then you end up not feeling rested. Yep, me too. That's why I'm trying to get it off my phone now. I'm in those. I feel like I'm like in the home stretch. You know, I'm about to be done with social media, and it feels so good. So let me read this last bit. That was what was so interesting to me. Okay. So this last bit that was so interesting is still from WebMD. And this is the part that kind of makes sense for being on WebMD, which is probably why this article was on there to begin with. But scientists don't know for sure if there's a cause for introversion or extroversion. What they do know is the brains of the two personality types work a little differently from each other. Researchers have found that introverts have a higher blood flow to their frontal lobe than extroverts do. This part of the brain helps to remember things, solve problems, and plan ahead. Introvert brains also react differently to dopamine than extrovert brains do. That's a chemical that turns on the reward and pleasure-seeking part of your brain. Right? Dopamine's the happy hormone or neurotransmitter. Introvert and extroverts have the same amount of the chemical, but extrovert brains get an excited buzz from the reward center, while extroverts, on the other hand, tend to just feel run down by it. And that's the part that had me questioning, I guess it didn't say we react to caffeine different. It said we react to dopamine different. But what I do know is that ADHD can cause you to react to caffeine differently. Like neurotypicals tend to get an excited buzz from caffeine, whereas neurodivergents tend to feel kind of sleepy from caffeine. I can take a nap after coffee. I really can. I drink it as a comfort and out of habit, but I can totally drink a coffee before bed. I'm one of those. I can drink a midnight coffee and have a great night's sleep still. So I was wondering if there's a connection there that maybe in 20 years' time they'll discover. And as of right now, they don't say that there's really a connection. They do say that it does seem to be skewed a little bit, like slightly more than half tend to be introvert over extrovert of neurodivergence, which is interesting and to me seems like a bit of a correlation because it's also said that about 33% of people are introvert, whereas the 66% is extroverted. So the numbers are kind of weighing on the sides, but those are just some of those interesting things that I'm interested in seeing where that goes as far as continuing to learn about the brain. And I find it wild that there's still so much we don't know. And to me, it feels like it's all just figuring out how to be human. Like, I have had depression and anxiety for so long in my life, and then getting to a place where I don't really have daily occurrences of them anymore, it really makes me wonder what that even really was. But anyways, I'm not a psychologist. I cannot give professional advice on this. This is simply the musings of my brain riffing off of what I have learned on Google today that has blown my mind. But if you are an introvert, my heart is with you, because making mom friends seems to be hard enough. And then when you're an introvert and you have, I think there's a huge connection between introverts and social anxiety. I mean, I would guess that's 100% correlation. I've never met an extrovert who has social anxiety. I've met a lot of extroverts who are called social butterflies. So in my experience, I've not met an extrovert who has social anxiety. They've all been introverts. People who tend to reflect inward, people who tend to overthink, people who tend to lean into that very, very analytical side of things. We tend to be the ones who get the fear of talking to another human being. So I'm really glad that you are here listening to me and helping me to overcome that fear. And I hope I can inspire you to overcome your fear. It's just to meet people, right? So, isolation, never a good idea. We learned that 4 years ago. Isolation is not fun. Isolation comes with a lot of mental health distress, disorders, illness, uptick in illness, conditions. Excuse me. We've got to keep from isolating, and we've got to keep finding friends even when we're socially anxious. A lot of this comes from, and it would be a whole other episode, but what has greatly, greatly helped me to overcome that a lot, like I definitely still get nervous to talk one-on-one to someone. I definitely still get nervous to meet someone. I still have to rehearse some of my phone calls before I make them. Like I need to know what's going on before I go into it. But what has really helped me to let go of the fear of so much is really learning to accept me as I am. It's been self-love that has helped me to overcome social anxiety. Like, I accept me as I am. And I know I am not perfect. And I'm not trying to be perfect. And I know that sometimes I'm going to flub my words. Sometimes I'm going to say a word that's not the word I'm meaning to say. Sometimes I'm going to completely lose my train of thought. But I can introduce myself. I can tell you, hi, I'm Brittany, and it's nice to meet you. I can sit in silence and wait for someone else to say something. You've got to get comfortable with who you are. You have to accept you are who you are. And it's okay to be imperfect because nobody's perfect. And there's great chances that that person you're trying to talk to, you want to talk to, is having the same fears and second guessing themselves just as much as you are. Okay? Realizing that almost all of us moms want more mom friends, but we're afraid to introduce ourselves. That's what's going to help you get over that. Is realizing we all want the same thing. And yeah, there's a small group out there that really aren't interested. Some people will be polite about it. Some people will just straight up be mean. But it doesn't mean anything about you. Some people just don't want any more friends. What people think about you doesn't have to mean anything about you. Okay? And I really hope that you can help. That I can help you with these words to overcome that social anxiety, to avoid isolating. Don't think because introvert is your identity that you should be isolating. It's still really good to go meet people. I feel really energized in a room of people now. I feel really energized speaking to you guys. I felt so energized leading a Zoom call. Like I taught my first paid class over Zoom over in the growth coaching membership. And I was slightly nervous about it starting, mostly nervous about the tech glitching. But I accepted it is what it is. Tech glitches, it's fine. People aren't coming in there to judge me. And we had such an amazing time. It was such a beautiful time, and it lit me up. And then afterwards, I was really tired and I needed a nap that because I'm a mom, I didn't get. But it's okay. It is what it is. Okay? So I want you to know that there is a way that you can connect with other moms like you. There's a way that you can go make deep, meaningful relationships right now today. And I can be one of them. Like, let me be your friend for real. Okay? If you go get into the Bloom Room, link will be in the description below, or go to brittanyclarkson.com/community and join the Bloom Room, the free community. And you can have conversations with people. You can direct message. You can direct message me in there. But we have some great conversations going on. Let's keep it going. Get book recommendations. Anything like that. Like, it's been fun. So fun. You don't have to get into the paid membership to have this wonderful benefit. Okay? I love you so much, my friend. I do want to leave you with one last word of remembering to protect your energy when you're socializing. When you know you're an introvert, go into the social events knowing that you're going to get tired, and that's okay. What other people think doesn't mean anything about you. Okay? You've got to put on that thick skin, that armor. Learn to be comfortable with you. Really, really, I want to hit it home with what other people think about you. It's none of your business, and it doesn't mean anything about you. Because most of the time it's not true. And most of the time people are not thinking about you. Most of the time people are thinking about themselves. And everyone's mostly self-conscious. Even a lot of extroverts are self-conscious. Okay? Keep that in mind. I love you so much, and I will see you again next week.